Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an Accutane update. I just finished month 5, I believe, and I'm actually going into month 6. We weren't supposed to do a month 6, so I thought it would be a good time to kind of update you guys on how it's going and, my journey and all that good stuff. So if you guys haven't watched my first video about it, I can kind of give a slight recap as to my skincare journey. This is my third round of Accutane. I went on my first round when I was 14 years old. I went on my second round when I was closer to 18. And right now I'm 21 years old and I'm on my third round, again, going into month 6. My first round, I believe, was about 5 months. Again, that was when I was about 14, 15 years old. So I was in freshman year of high school. So obviously acne was super bad then, whatever. And then second round was a good bit after COVID, so senior year of high school going into freshman year of college. That round was actually about 9 months, and this one is shaping up to be about 6 months long. Again, it was initially going to be 5 months, but me and my dermatologist recently decided to continue going with it. As you can see, my skin is not clear, specifically over here. I just had a massive breakout, and I'd love to kind of talk to you guys about my experience on this drug for the third round. I feel like my TikTok has been full of like really weird skincare takes recently. Like, I don't know, I saw this TikTok the other day that was like, when you realize that Accutane doesn't actually work and you just need to wash your face. And I was like, what? It's just funny to me hearing people talk about or say something like that when I am someone who is consistently had a clean and concise skincare routine, washed my face twice a day, taking care of my skin, and still had chronic, painful acne for years and years. And so at this point, it's pretty comical hearing people say stuff like that. And if you're someone who's also struggled with acne, I'm sure you're also kind of either laughing along or also kind of frustrated hearing people say that, because some people that is gonna work. Some people, like my boyfriend, washes his face and has great skin and like doesn't, like, he's never thought twice about it, right? And then I am someone who has had my skin in the forefront of my mind for, at this point, like, we're coming up on a decade. Like, we're not there yet. But again, I started this journey around 14 years old. I'm 21. So that's really crazy to think about. But yeah, aside from Accutane, I've been on a couple other pills, which I figured I'd kind of touch on here. Spironolactone is one of them, and it's also one that I've thought about going back on a lot because my biggest problem with my acne is probably the hormonal aspect of it at this point. I work out a lot, but I am very cognizant of, after I'm sweating, to wash my face, to, do whatever I can to mitigate the amount of sweat that gets stuck in my pores, whatever. But it's definitely pretty obvious to me that most of my breakouts are hormonal. And spironolactone has been something that's helped out a lot with that. I will say the other thing that's helped out a lot with hormonal acne was when I went on Yaz, but I had a lot of other problems with being on Yaz. If you are familiar with it, that's a birth control. It fixed my acne, but at what cost? I had a lot of stomach issues on Yaz that actually didn't really stop when I got off of it. So spironolactone's definitely been a go-to for hormonal acne, and I've also never had any like adverse side effects. The thing about Accutane is you can only be on it for X amount of time, and you're also definitely going to have some of these side effects. At least with spironolactone, there is no kind of time limit for it. I've been on doxycycline a lot. There was a time where I was kind of on and off it, and then there was a time where I was on it like for a year or two. Which I don't know if you're supposed to be, but again, I listen to what the doctors say. But if you name an acne medication, I have been on it. I've been on all of the topical stuff. Right now, I have a clindamycin, I believe. Because of this breaking out, I had asked my doctor if I could have something topical. And most of them haven't really worked for me. I just remember this really gross, like, yellow one. I'm, like, blanking on the name, but it smelled so bad, and, like, it was yellow and puffy and foamy. If y'all know what it is, I'm sure this is ringing a bell for, like, someone watching. Anyway, I'm someone where topicals have really not worked for me. I'll be honest though, when I initially started using topicals around, again, 14, 13 years old, I didn't really know how to use them. Which sounds stupid, but like I would put some of them on in the shower and then like wash it off because I thought it was a face wash. So obviously they didn't work at that point, but now that I'm older and know how to use them, they still don't work very well. Anyway, let's talk about how Accutane has helped. So I started Accutane, I guess, around like August-ish, July-ish, and the purging stage lasted definitely a bit longer than I remember it lasting on my last 2 rounds of it. I can insert some photos here of kind of what that looked like. And then I would say about a month ago or so is when it really started clearing up, maybe middle of October. Halloween weekend, I remember my skin looked really good. So it definitely started clearing up, which is why I was so surprised I had this huge breakout recently, because you'd think once you're kind of done with the purging stage, like in my experience on Accutane, once it purges, your skin is clear, sometimes for like a year or 2, right? Accutane is idealistically supposed to clear your skin for basically like a prolonged period of time. Some people go on Accutane and never have acne again. That's what I thought I would have. That was wishful thinking. But generally it works for a really long time. So unfortunately, I just started breaking out again recently, which was really, really frustrating because it just wasn't something I was expecting. I do attribute this again to being hormonal. I am someone who has very volatile hormones. I guess that's a way you could describe it. I've been on a lot of different birth controls for acne, and I could make a whole video about hormonal birth control and non-hormonal birth control for that matter, because I did have the copper IUD. Maybe I will make that video, but all you need to know for now is that I am going off of my personal experience on hormonal birth control. I don't think it's for me at this particular moment in my life. That is not to say that it is not good. That is not to say it doesn't work for certain people. But for me, at this moment in my life, it does not work for me. And I am not willing to go on it for my skin and compromise other areas of my life that it can affect. Again, that is just my personal experience on it. I've been on a lot of different pills, so I feel very comfortable with that. But I'm not a doctor. All I know is that my doctors have respected that opinion, and they have not told me that I'm delusional and that it's something else. They're like, some people, this is how it is. So, but yeah, I had my period earlier this month, and that's when I started really breaking out badly. And the reason I think it could have been so bad is because I have an extremely irregular period. This is something that I think has come from being on so many different hormonal birth controls as I was kind of growing up, that when I got off of them, I think my period became very irregular, whereas it used to be a little more regular, and then the copper IUD, anyway. So I think that's probably why it started breaking out so badly. But even then, in my experience on Accutane, once it clears up, once again, there's nothing that could really make it break out. Like, I could rub mud all over my face, like dirty mud, not like a mud mask, and it wouldn't break out on Accutane. I don't know. That was typically my experience with it. So color me surprised when it was looking this way, which definitely made me question if I'm growing a tolerance to it, which is so crazy to say because I'm the only person I know who's been on it this much. 3 times is generally a lot. If anyone's familiar with the pill, they definitely look at me like I'm crazy when I say something like that. But, for someone who doesn't have extremely cystic acne, my acne tends to be extremely stubborn. So even if it's not the worst acne you've ever seen, it really doesn't go away with anything else. And at 21 years old, I have grown less of a tolerance for it. Unfortunately, though, it seems that it's not fully clearing up, and I'm reaching my limit for the dose that I can do. So we're going into the 6th month. I do think my skin is generally really bad in the winter anyway, right? So I'm not 100% surprised that it's a little bit worse in the winter months than it was. Again, even in October, it was a little bit warmer. I had a little bit more sun going on. But still not necessarily happy with where it's at. It's looking a lot better than it has in the last couple days. But I would like it to be clear. That would be amazing. Talking about side effects, I really haven't experienced any crazy ones. Obviously, I've had the dry skin. That's not even like, it's hard for me to say that's like a potential side effect. Like, that just is going to happen because that is at the core of how Accutane works. So, I'm always doing Aquaphor, but like, let's be honest, during the winter, my skin's really dry anyway. Something I've started to notice is I think like the rest of my skin is also pretty dry, which has probably happened before, but I've just never noticed it on the other rounds where I've done Accutane versus this round. Like, I've definitely noticed my legs are dry. I need to like moisturize them more. In terms of my joints, they've been good. There was a moment where I thought I was getting joint pain from Accutane, but I think I just had some sort of illness or the flu or something, because I ended up just having a lot of different, issues that, like, I was exhausted and I was coughing and whatnot. So I think I was actually just sick. So I haven't really experienced anything like that. In terms of emotions, I know it can affect that kind of stuff. I've never had that side effect from Accutane. And I tend not to think about it too much just because I'm the kind of person who will gaslight myself into thinking that it is changing everything in my life. So if I'm thinking about, like, what side effects do I have, then I will convince myself I have all of them. So the only one that's really glaring me in the face is the dry skin, really dry lips, which is totally manageable. I just have Aquaphor literally everywhere. And again, I feel like most of the girlies do at this point in the year. Like, we gotta have our Aquaphor on. But again, other than that, quality of life has been good. And, it is kind of this very drastic, why am I blanking on the word? Solution for acne, but I did want to make this video to talk about why it's helpful. Because again, I'm seeing these TikToks that are talking about like how horrible it is to be on prescriptions for acne, and I don't think people understand how it can really affect your life, especially. So I feel like I'm in a moment now where I'm an adult, and if I have acne. Like, yeah, I'd much prefer my skin to be clear, but I'm able to look at it through a much more objective lens. But some of these videos I'm seeing make me feel like these people don't have, are not able to put themselves in the shoes of some of these 14, 15-year-old girls and boys who are experiencing extremely painful acne and are already going through all of the other horrible side effects of puberty, and at the same time are having these horrible breakouts that are not only painful, but really hard to feel good about yourself when your face looks so obstructed. Just using that as my own term there. Everyone has their own experience with acne. But I think it's very helpful. And if you're a teen watching this, asking yourself if you should go on Accutane, first of all, I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you if you should or shouldn't, but I am here to tell you that there are a lot of stories of Accutane changing people's lives for the good here. And even though this round isn't necessarily going how I'd like it to go, Accutane has continuously, made my acne better in the long run when nothing else would work. And I am very grateful to it for that. And even now, like, it is so much better than it was, going on this round of Accutane. And I'm glad I did it. And I don't have any crazy side effects, again, besides dry skin. So, like, if you're looking for a sign that, like, there's not only horror stories on Accutane, like, I promise you, there are so many, like, wonderful stories of people skin clearing and all this great stuff. So, anyway, just wanted to give you guys that update. Hopefully we'll be off of it come the new year, which I'm really excited about. And I'll probably have to touch up the skincare routine. Right now it's very minimal, mostly just using moisturizer, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, because it's such like a stripping medication that you really don't want to use anything else. So again, I'm using clindamycin a little bit as like a spot treatment, but we're keeping it very bare bones for now. I'll give you guys an update when I get off of it, but hopefully this is our last round of Accutane. Fingers crossed. Never want to go on iPledge again. If you guys have any questions about anything I brought up this video, let me know. I'd love to answer some. If you guys have questions about the birth controls I've been on or how this affects other things in my life, I'm someone who does struggle with like IBS and stuff like that. And so I'd be happy to talk about that. Just wanted to bring some light to this after seeing all these videos. But again, hope you guys are having a great day. Hope you guys have a great new year. A very random outro. Sorry for the random left turn, but I'm bad at transitions. So I will see you guys in the next video.